Behold, Frost Prime, a Warframe that many of you may recently have gotten from the Twitch Prime with Prime promotion. I made a video about that, and if you don't know what it is, check out the description for that. But many of you probably have Frost now, either through that method or you just had Frost, because he's great, and he's great for lots of things, and I want to show you how you can make him great at lots of things. So today we're going to talk about various Frost Prime builds. I'm going to show you some weapons, kind of random weapons that I've just been using mostly as examples. And hopefully that will help you enjoy Frost, because he's really, really good. So we're going to jump into these enemies and show off probably like the flashiest thing that you can do with Frost, which is totally remove armor with his freeze, and then just like kill the enemies that now have no armor. So as you can see, these Grenier who had yellow health bars before, which indicated their armor, now have red health bars because they have no armor. And that's fantastic. It's super powerful. Now this one is yellow again, has lots of armor, and it takes me comparatively longer to kill it. Although Nami Solo is still perfectly capable of it. So I've chosen Nami Solo as the weapon because Nami Solo does not require mastery to have. So you can all build this right now. If that looked cool, if this weapon impressed you with its power, which it should have because it's actually pretty good, for a Master Rank 0 weapon, you can get this weapon right now. You can all get this weapon right now. So let's talk a little bit about that build and Nami Solo, and then we'll show more stuff. So that build was the Frost Freeze Removing All Armor build. So as you can see, Frost has 4 abilities, and his 4th ability is Avalanche, where it freezes everything, and it reduces armor. Now, with the amount of power strength I have, which is 255%, if you have at least 250% power strength on your Frost, you will remove all armor for the time the enemies are frozen. Now, as you saw just there, when the enemies get unfrozen, they will get their armor back, so make sure you kill them while they're frozen, which means that your next priority after modding for all that power strength is some duration, so that you have time to kill the enemies that were frozen. You also want to make sure that you don't lose range because you're hitting more enemies. I figure the range doesn't need to be that high though, because you won't be able to hit, or you won't be able to kill like that many enemies during the time they're frozen, so go figure. I think strength is important. Efficiency, you probably want to push it back up a little bit because it's going to be low from Blind Rage. And then some duration is nice. So you don't really need to go too hard to get this to work. You do need Blind Rage. You pretty much need Transient Fortitude. You pretty much need Power Drift. If these are leveled up a little bit more, you should be able to skip Power Drift. But again, if you're a newer player, you probably don't have them leveled up all the way. So there you go. And again, if you don't have these mods, that's what you need to make him freeze everything and remove its armor, but there are plenty of other good ways to play Frost, and we're going to talk about those next. But that's how you do that. Let me quickly show you that Nami Solo build. Very normal body count and Blood Rush build, so Drifting Contact that is. So Blood Rush gives you lots of crit chance with your combo counter. This weapon does really good slash damage, so I put on Heat and Viral, which both also do very good damage against naked unarmored flesh, but not very good damage against armored flesh. Enemies will have no armor from your freeze, so that's perfectly fine. We have Berserker, as usual, our damage right here, and then just Pressure Point, Organ Shatter, Drifting Contact, and Blood Rush, so that you get combo duration, lots of crit chance, heavier crit damage, and of course base damage. Fantastic. If you don't have Cyclone Kraken, which is rather rare, but a very good stance, machetes are like kind of in a place of ridicule overall, but this is a really good stance. Sundering Weave is like, let's just show that, I guess, for your sanity. Because, it's not that bad, but it's definitely worse. So we'll just demonstrate that real quick. So all you have to do, again, is dive in, hit your freeze, and there they go. And now we're going to swing. Oh my god, it's so painful. So painful. So slow, so weak. Oh my god, it's so bad. Anyway, so you see, you can still get the job done, but, it's not pretty, alright? I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not pretty. Cyclone Kraken is definitely much better, but it's really rare, so go figure. But anyway, Nami Solo is still pretty serviceable for a Master Rank 0 weapon. It's pretty strong, I think we can agree. So I definitely recommend you give it a try. It's just it's got very good status chance and pretty okay crit stats, and fine speed, okay damage. For a weapon that's really easy to get early, you're just going to need Argon Crystals, which you get from the Void, but again, that's not a huge deal. You just got to go in there for a little while. So I recommend you give that a try. Now, let's say that you do not have the mods to set all that stuff up. Well, I recommend you use this build instead. Ice Wave Impedance isn't necessary. We'll talk about that. This is I know I cannot reduce the enemy armor completely, so I'm just going to freeze everything all the time build. You have maximum range, maximum efficiency, still okay duration, and then just like no strength at all. Frost is not that good at dealing damage, using power strength, that is, and really dealing damage with power strength is not that good anyway. So we're just forgetting about that, we're just giving up, and instead we're going to use all of his other powers to control the battlefield. So we have massive snow globes, gigantic, massive, huge snow globes that will slow enemies when they're entered and block outside fire, although not too much because we don't have much power strength, but as you can see, it blocked that rocket, that bombard rocket. Now we also have R2, which hits a massive area and will freeze enemies, make them really slow, so that we can just like run around them. They're really slow, and they can't react to us very quickly because they're frozen on this ground. So your 2 will already put like a freeze effect on enemies, even if you don't have Ice Wave impedance, but Ice Wave impedance creates this sort of like skate park, skate rink you're seeing. See that like misty ground? That's from Ice Wave impedance, and it creates a persistent slowing effect that I think is really valuable. So if you have access to maybe clan members who would be willing to give you Ice Wave impedance, or you join a syndicate that has Ice Wave impedance, I definitely recommend it. It's a lot of fun. That's one way you can control them. And then you also have very, very high efficiency, so you can just spam your freeze and freeze single targets, like so, which is pretty useful. Very, very low cost. Only a nice 7 energy for that ability, which is fantastic. And then, of course, if all else fails, you can just spend 25 energy to freeze the entire map. Now, keep in mind, these enemies do not lose armor, really, because you have no power strength, and they also can't be affected by status effects while they are frozen, so you can't reduce their armor further either. Now, this is why it's so good to have like reducing all of their armor in Frost, like that build from before, but one thing you can do is just reduce their armor out of the gate and then freeze them, and then their armor will be like reduced. So I'll shoot these guys a little bit. You saw some corrosive procs there. Now we're gonna jump in again and cut them up. And as you can see, this enemy still has like some armor, but it's still taking very good damage, comparable to the damage we were dealing before when we removed all armor, which is really nice. And that's because we did get some armor stripping procs off before it was frozen. And of course those will stay. So that's one option. You can use weapons that will strip armor and then just freeze the enemy and kill them while they can't move with their reduced armor. So we'll wait for this guy to get unfrozen sometime this year maybe. Oh, I think I hit this guy with my 1, that's why it's taking so long. Right, like that. And now we'll swing and we'll do pretty decent damage. Again, it still has armor, wouldn't be as good as if we took it all off, but it's something. So that's an option. Now, I was using the Scourge, a new weapon that came out with the Chains of Hero update, to take off armor. That's what these like evil black blobs look like. I think this weapon is super fun to use, and it does a lot of status. Even if you don't have that high status chance on it, it does very high status. So let's look at that really quick. I'm using spring-loaded chamber because I think it's fun, but you could totally just use speed trigger. You're just going to need 1 forma, or maybe like your serration isn't maxed, and then you have 1 more point, so you can put on speed trigger instead. Totally acceptable. This is fun, and you never get to use it, so I figured I would. Besides that, we just got base mods and then some fire rate. I think this weapon fires really slow, but it has really good status chance, so really fast, very good area, lots of status. And then we have, of course, our corrosive combo. This weapon has base corrosive damage as well, so you're going to get mostly corrosive procs. And then I put on a little bit of heat. This is mostly just to add a bit of innate crowd control, so that before you freeze the enemies, or before you do whatever you're going to do with them, or if you use this weapon solo without any other help, it will be able to protect you from the enemies fighting back. It'll set them on fire every so often, and they won't be able to fight back. I will quickly show that. We'll just use only the Scourge, and we'll fight those same enemies. Fire to get spring-loaded chamber going, and then we'll shoot. And as you can see, they're on fire while they're getting shot, so they mostly cannot fight back. They shoot back sometimes, but mostly not, which is fantastic and keeps you much safer than you would be otherwise. And as you can see, they have no armor. Those 2 are already dead. This is definitely a very serviceable primary on its own, although it's definitely not as effective as like shooting them a few times with this and using it as a softening weapon and then like taking out something else. But it's still pretty effective. So again, that's that. It's a pretty good weapon, very low investment for like how powerful it is. Like that's pretty strong for 0 forma, I think, You can just buy it and put a catalyst on it, and it's good enough to kill like sortie 3 enemies. Like, that's pretty good. And then again, we have this build. You saw it before. I still think you want a little bit of health, like you want some kind of recourse against enemy attacks, but it might be less appropriate on this build. So I don't know. I could see going for something like maybe redirection instead, just because Frost has so much shielding, and then you have like massive shields, and then like enemies aren't gonna get through that much at once that often, so maybe that's okay. I'm hesitant with redirection just because, again, your armor, it doesn't take your armor, and Frost has a lot of armor, so this vitality is giving you a lot more, but if you have no way to heal, like I don't have a way to heal in this loadout, so anyway, whatever. All options. Again, rejuvenation, kind of questionable, but it's what's there. And that's that. So that's a really simple build you can use. That's something that you can just like put on as much range and efficiency as you possibly can, and then you will have a version of that build, and you can just do what you were just seeing me do. Now, there are a couple other things you can do to enemies that are kind of spicy. So first of all, you can cast snow globes for like real cheap. Normally people use these to like defend an objective, but your snow globes are kind of weak with this setup. So I would recommend instead that you mostly use them reactively, like this. As you can see, if an enemy is inside the radius of your snow globe when you cast it, they get violently thrown away and frozen solid. And if they hit terrain, like you saw that first enemy hit this pillar, they take massive finisher damage. So if you can back enemies into a corner and then just spam snow globes like this, you can snowplow enemies into the wall and kill them for very, very, very high amounts of damage. Usually 2 plows will kill anything. Let's try that out one more time. So we're going to freeze these guys first. And just like playing pool, we're going to line up our shot, and boop. And as you can see, massive damage on that guy. Massive damage again, and he's dead. There you go. So, yeah, you can do that. That's a way to kill people. You kind of have to have a lot of energy, but oftentimes you do have a lot of energy. Now, if you decide to use this tactic, I do pretty heavily recommend that you make sure to clean up your snow globes. So as you can see, once you have a snow globe, if you cast your 1 on it, it will break it. And your 1 costs very little energy with this build. Clean up your snow globes because they do inhibit ally fire. So like this stops enemy fire from the outside, but it also stops ally fire, like yours. So don't leave them around. That's really annoying. Don't do that. I don't want to encourage people to play an annoying play style like that. So don't do that. Between you and me, I sometimes forget to clean them up, and I gotta stop doing that because it's wicked annoying. I get mad when other people do it. Don't do it. So let's talk about this Sicarus Prime, which is kind of unrelated to this loadout. It's just the other weapon I had as sort of a safety object. So as you can see, Sicarus Prime, real good. This is currently accessible in the Prime Unvaulting pack, and it's a really, really good gun. The other weapons are not that good. It is in the Prime Unvaulting pack, right? Anyway, you know, you get your hands on it however you want, but it's very, very good. This is what I recommend you build. Definitely get those crit mods on there. Barrel Diffusion, Lethal Torrent, Horn Strike, and then like some Corrosive. This weapon has very good status chance, and it's a burst fire weapon, so definitely want Corrosive. You will be able to stack up some armor reduction. And then I like Hydraulic Crosshairs on this weapon. It's a little weird because like when you burst at this speed, it's like kinda inaccurate. You see how the bullets like go up a little bit, but I actually find that makes it pretty reliable. So we're gonna fight these enemies once more. I'm gonna give them the old ice wave, get into a nice head glitch here. And I'm gonna shoot at this guy. As you can see, I do have Hydraulic Crosshairs with pretty much every trigger pull, if you look in the top right corner. And that's because even if I miss the head by a little bit, the upwards recoil makes me hit the head with one of the other 2 shots. So I actually think this is a pretty reliable Hydraulic Crosshairs weapon. Not a traditional one. You're not going to get a headshot with every trigger pull, but it doesn't really matter. You're still going to do pretty efficient damage. This weapon is fairly ammo efficient. You can eat through ammo like pretty hardcore if you fire like this. That's just like as fast as you can go. And like, yeah, that's a lot of ammo, but go figure, right? Like it does a lot of damage. It's a strong weapon. So I definitely recommend this thing. This is good with Harrow. If you have Harrow, it's a very good primary with Harrow. Has very good crit damage and feels wicked fun to fire. Has a sick looking reload. Look at that. That's a nasty reload. Don't lie to me. Anyway, yeah, there's basically no reason this is in this loadout. I just thought I'd show you something fun to play with. So, great. That's my shtick, my spiel on Frost, and you should totally get him. If you don't have him already, you should get the free Twitch Prime with Prime thing. Check that out in the description. I made a video on that if you need help doing it. If not, then just go get it. Be aware that it's there and go get it. If you already have Prime access, Twitch Prime, same thing, right? Then go get him, because he's really good, and build him those ways. There are other ways to build Frost. You can do something more like this. This is like what I use for running quick excavators on Hiracon to like farm stuff, or like if I need to do like a generic defense mission, then you can use this. It's fast, and your snow globes have a lot of health. You have a ton of armor, which affects how much health your snow globes have, and then you have a bit of strength, bit of range, don't want them too big, and then duration doesn't matter. Efficiency is not going to matter too much. Recasting them is good, but it's not a huge deal. This doesn't even use all my space. Like, I could be, like min-maxing a bit more. Like, I could put a mod there. I don't really feel like I need this, but you can have it. Not really necessary. These are very effective. And then you can add Chilling Globe if you have it, or like if you just don't forma this, then just don't put this mod on. This is a really nice augment, so it makes enemies have a 50% chance to get frozen solid when they enter your snow globes. Now that might sound like whatever, but I don't know, when you have a big swarm of enemies, so like let's get some butchers going. It can be really helpful because it lets you pick them off like kind of one at a time, like it slows them down a little bit. So we're gonna have these enemies. We're gonna not let them kill me by using my lightning, and just jump around until they're like sort of coming toward me, and now we're gonna freeze. And as you can see, quite a few of them that walk into the snow globe just get frozen immediately and cannot move, and that's super helpful. It gives you time to pick them off. As you can see, there are tons of enemies around me, but I have time to kill them all because they're getting frozen solid. That just saved me from those 3 enemies killing me from behind. And as you can see, they're slow once they're inside the globe, which gives you plenty of time to kill them from all sides. You can get attacked from many sides, and as long as you stay diligent in killing the enemies, you will be able to fight off even a very large amount of enemies very easily, just like that. So it's pretty strong. Again, I think this is a good size snow globe. It covers most objectives without being so large that it draws unnecessary fire. And yeah, that's what I use for that. So that's a nice other simple build. That's much more like whatever you have. Maybe the easiest of these builds to make for a new player. Just whatever, this aura polarity you have, whatever power strength you have. It's not important that it be a specific amount. A little bit of range, you'll probably pick up a stretch early. Cunning drift is not necessary. Power drift is not necessary for that matter. So yeah, and this is a good basic build. You could just use this for whatever you need to get done when you need to farm something, if you need to do a quick mobile defense for some ungodly reason, etc. It's a very, very handy build where you can just put up a snow globe and deal with whatever you have to do. And they're a nice size, nice and cozy. I just have one last thing to say. That last thing is that you should make your energy color black. This energy color is solid black. Making it as close to solid black as possible will cause your snow globes to not have an energy effect inside them when you place them, which is really helpful because then you can see what you're doing better when you're fighting inside them. As you can see, my vision is totally unhampered, and it's really easy to see everything that's going on. You can still see the snow globe. You can still see the ice trail from your ice wave. You can still see that like part of the ground is like smoky if you have your ice wave impedance. I'll show that real quick. And it's generally just like a nice quality of life thing to have your energy color be darker so that you're not like mucking up the battlefield with more stuff. So you can still see that like that part of the ground is icy, and that's helpful. It's not too hard to see, but it doesn't get in your way or cloud your vision, which is fantastic. It also makes some weapons look really cool. Like, I don't know, Scourge looks kind of evil. It kind of looks like you're shooting ink blobs, which is kind of cool. I kind of dig that, so go figure. That's what I recommend you use on Frost. If you have any questions, you need any help with anything, need any mods, need a clan, whatever, hit me up in the description and the comments. I would be happy to give you a clan or some starter mods or whatever. Just talk to me in the description and I'd be happy to help. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.